Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Books and Betches, not to be confused with Books and
High School Betches.
I'm Kristen, and with me I have
Erica.
And Maria.
I thought you were gonna
so
say-
distracted.
I thought you were going to say pants.
Oh, no, I'm trying to find the list.
Get closer to your microphone.
I'm trying to find the list that you sent me. Oh, why is it so low?
You
Oh, here
moved
it is. Here it is. Okay.
Okay, you good?
Yeah.
All right, this is a book podcast. We swear, we spoil, we talk about sex. This week, we're doing something a little different. I say that every time we do something a little different, and then it ends up not being that different. We're just talking
we asked
about
you
something.
on Instagram we asked you on Instagram to tell us what topics you wanted us to cover on the pod that are not just book related or not just direct books. And one of you mentioned high school required reading and what we all read.
A lot
of good mentions in there.
And we're going to be doing most of them.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but
Most of them. So this one is about what each of us read in high school. Kristen went through a spiral because she doesn't remember any of high school. So this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
And she didn't read a lot in high school.
Listen, I was in common core classes.
So we have kind of two sides of the spectrum here, too, because I was in all honors
And
classes.
I'm in the middle. I
blows
was in
me
both.
away.
I took all honors classes.
I don't believe you.
I believe her.
Why?
I don't know.
Why do you
Why
not think I'm
wouldn't
that
you
smart?
That's not what I'm saying.
I can believe her bullshitting her way through an AP
I just
class.
like your ADD is so bad. I can't.
I was never the smartest person in any classroom I've ever been in.
Just because she was an AP doesn't mean she was the smartest one.
No, I wasn't.
smart
I'm not
enough.
talking about her smarts at all. I'm talking about her ability to like be present.
I think I had a 3.2 GPA in high school, and that I think is very indicative.
Y'all
of,
had GPAs?
Yeah, same.
You didn't have a GPA?
I don't think so.
You did. You just don't know it.
I think we just had A's and B's and C's and D's.
Yeah, and they all accumulate
Yeah,
at
they
the end of 4
accumulate
years to your grade.
Anyways, that's very indicative of my ability to like do shit in class, because I really could only bullshit my way through like some classes, and that's where I got A's, and then like math and science I really couldn't bullshit my way through, and that's where I got B's.
AP history was fucked for me because my teacher sucked.
I've never seen an AP class in my life ever. Well,
Just
okay.
a lot of reading.
So core classes.
Obviously you didn't do.
Listen, fuck off. I didn't know that there was like standard, like people read books. Listen, I remember. No. I read one. No, we watched the movie. Here's what I learned. I learned something. I wasn't fucking alone, okay? I put up a thing on my Instagram post specifically for people in this high school that I went to. It wasn't just me, dude. It was the high school. I'm not the sole problem.
I believe you.
So I was
Let's go on Zillow.
I was in a lot of.
Why are you going on
Let's
Zillow?
I want to see the rating of the school.
Sports were great. So I was in classes with this girl, Alexa, and I'm going to shout her out. Hi, Alexa. I reached out to you, so this shouldn't be too much of a surprise. I was in a lot of her classes and a couple other people. So I reached out to her and I said, do you remember reading books in high school? And like, I even asked Alyssa, my best friend, who was a little smarter than me, and she spiraled. She was like, did we not fucking read books? We watched a lot of movies. And Alexa was saying she remembers that we had to read one book. I think it was the one that I remembered too, which might have been Night or something. One of
Night
those.
by
Maybe it wasn't
Eli
Night.
something.
No,
Eli Weasel.
Oh no, I think it was the one with
Weisel.
the bunnies and the guy. He smushed all the bunnies.
Smush the bunnies.
Oh my god, people listening to this definitely know.
Mice and Men.
Of Mice and Men, thank you.
I never read that one.
So anyway, she had mentioned she remembered we had to read one, but she didn't. She told the teacher, I don't understand it. So the teacher was like, okay, you can just like draw pictures or something, right?
What?
So like that would happen all the time, especially with Alexa.
Draw pictures?
She was really good at getting out of shit. In our art class, she told the art teacher she didn't understand something, so the art teacher told her she can glue two things together. So the point that I'm making is that I wasn't alone in all of this. A lot of people started spiraling. I did get some responses from people who were in the AP classes. Little Jess, my friend Little Jess, she mentioned some of the things that she wrote. It was actually kind of sad because she mentioned Night, and she said, because Little Jess is Jewish, and a lot of the kids like made fun of it for some reason.
Seriously?
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? I said, what's going on in AP classes? Like, see,
There's bullies all over school.
I said that's why you should have come down to core. We didn't have to deal with that shit. We just watched movies. So I sent a lot of people on a spiral, and I just want to say it's not just me. The only book I remember reading is Night.
Shall we talk about the books we did read?
Yeah.
Since you said you read none.
Yeah.
Erica, you want to go first?
Yeah, so I mean, again, read a lot of books in
It's unbelievable.
where the fuck is this thing?
It's so cool.
Are you doing all 4 years of high school? Are you like?
Yeah. I
Okay.
would say
Same.
so. I can go.
I feel so left out.
I bet you if we start talking about
Greek
these,
mythology, like
Oh, I didn't do that.
Edith Hamilton's Greek mythology. Read all of the Greek like all
No, we
those
didn't
Greek
do that.
mythology books.
Edith
we didn't do the Odyssey
Edith
or anything like
Hamilton,
that.
yeah.
We didn't do none of that.
Well, name one of the
Odyssey,
book-
all
oh.
of those. No, the Edith Hamilton's like whatever.
Don't even know what that is.
Odyssey? Like
yeah,
Space
I read that.
Odyssey?
No,
Um,
down there it is.
There it is.
No, I didn't read the Odyssey. We did.
Of Mice and Men. I think you guys
Watch that
read.
movie.
I did not read that one.
Yeah, the Odyssey.
I had a teacher who
Adventures
only
of
watched
Huckleberry
movies.
Finn, 1984.
That might have been middle school for me.
Scarlet Letter, Hamlet, all
No.
of
No.
A few people said Scarlet Letter. I got that a lot.
not read that.
I remember watching a movie and then we had to this might have been a fake memory. Cut out A's. Was that a book? That was a movie.
Scarlet Letter.
Oh, and they put the A on the chest?
Yeah.
Do you know that movie with
Easy A?
Yeah,
Easy
Easy
A.
A. That's what I was
favorites.
thinking of. Sorry. go.
Catcher in the Rye.
Didn't read it.
Never read it.
Red Badge of Honor.
Nope.
Hatchet.
Nope.
Um,
My list is so different from hers.
The Jungle.
Nope.
By Upton Sinclair.
You read all of these?
Yeah, all the Shakespeare. Like,
Was this like summer reading?
We did
Romeo-
no. It would be during
Some of them.
No,
Some of
I
them.
rarely have summer readings. For me, the two Shakespeare were Romeo and Juliet and Midsummer Night's Dream.
We did Macbeth.
But those
and
were
all
those
the
were read
other
in
ones,
class.
Yeah.
So we would do like every couple.
Did you have like certain
days.
English classes or was it just English?
I had one that was an AP English, and then one was like.
You
they
read
might
The
have-
Great Gatsby,
They
right?
might have all
No.
yes. They might have all
Somebody in
been
my
AP.
school did because I remember being in homeroom and they were talking about The Great Gatsby, but they could have also had watched the movie, for all I know. I just assume everybody watched
My
movies.
list: Great Gatsby, Romeo and Juliet, Midsummer Night's Dream, Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. I loved that book. 1776 by David McCullough.
Yeah.
That was in my AP history class.
is
Hated that
that?
book.
Did you Fahrenheit?
Yes. Killer Angels, also a history book. Hated that one too. Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. 1984 by George Orwell. Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. And The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. Those are the books I remember off the top of my head.
Any of them worth reading now?
I like The Bell Jar.
I think The Bell Jar is a good one.
What's
by Sylvia Plath. It's depressing.
Is that
Yeah,
the one
super
with about
depressing.
Bell's palsy? Because I watched a movie like that.
No.
I don't think so.
Oh.
I wish I could tell. I in the back of my head, I vaguely have a sense of the plot of that book, but I don't want to get it wrong, so I'm not going to tell you.
That was my point through all of this. When people were like messaging me and they were like naming all these books, I was like, did we ever
Oh.
read Happy Books?
Beowulf.
I watched the
Oh,
movie for
my
that.
friend read Beowulf because I made a video for her project.
Remember the movie that came out? That was back then was like super insane. That it was like all CGI.
Yeah, so I actually took a class my senior year. It was like mythology, like movies.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like you would just watch a movie in class every time,
We watched
and
so
we
many
watched
movies.
Beowulf and like all of those like.
I remember thinking that was such an
mythological, like-
insane movie because it was like they
It was
face
so
recognition.
terrible.
It was
So
looking at it back now.
I
it's
had
terrible.
a teacher who was very old and he checked out completely. He said, I am done teaching. I'm retiring next year. So he would roll in that fucking
TV,
Remember
yeah.
the TV rolling in with the
miss those
VHS?
days.
Like
Miss
he
those days.
he would bring that in I must have been a freshman or a sophomore.
Every day.
Every day. Like we didn't do anything except
That was
watch
like my
movies.
RTC class.
So I watched Scarlet Letter. I watched oh God, what was the other one? The one that you said of Mice and Men. And I watched one more, Lord of the Flies. So like I watched the movies. So like part of me maybe felt like maybe I read books, but I know I read Night. I feel like I remember Night. Why can't I remember anything
Sawyer,
else?
Slaughterhouse 5.
no, didn't read those.
Red Badge of Courage, like I said. The Pearl.
I always wanted to read
Moby
Tom Sawyer.
Dick for sure.
I read Ernest
Why
Hemingway's
the
book
Caged Bird Sings.
I don't know
in
any of
middle
these.
school.
Mythology by Edith Hamilton.
Making
Yeah,
me
no,
sad.
I didn't read any of those.
But yeah, I mean, there's very few books I think that.
Were you one of those that like liked the reading portion of things and always got ahead, or were you ones like reading it like 5 minutes before class trying to finish the chapter before
I'm
you
always
started?
that person.
I was
I'm
always
always that
finishing it
person.
way ahead.
Okay, what
But
about
it's not that I didn't like reading it. Like I think Mythology by Edith Hamilton was probably one of my favorite ones because I love Greek mythology and I thought that was very fascinating. So like, but very hard to read.
I think
Very,
my
very hard to read.
favorites were Great Gatsby at the time and Heart of Darkness.
Fun fact, when we read Nights, I used Spark Notes to get through.
Oh, yeah, Spark Notes were the
Did you
best.
guys ever use Spark Notes?
Spark
No?
Notes was awesome.
That
Yeah,
was like
there's a
fucking
couple-
clutch.
There was a couple of books that definitely were like harder in terms of like understandability that I definitely needed.
I think the
SparkNotes
history
for.
books for me were the hardest ones. Like 1776 put me to sleep. Killer Angels was a little better, but damn.
I think I've talked about this before. My like AP or my honors classes were basically the English and the history were taught junior year together.
Oh.
So it was like an hour and all my I had 4 classes a day that were an hour and a half like blocks. So the first 40 minutes of the class was like the English portion or the history portion flip-flopped, and then the second 45 minutes was whatever one we didn't do, and the literature and the history lesson went side by side. So when we were like doing the jungle, we were also like learning about the industry, the animal packing industry at the time in America.
That's interesting.
And
That is
everything,
interesting.
all of the lessons coincided with the books that
That's
we
so
were
smart.
reading.
Yeah, I like
so
that.
it made sense. Like, you know, when we're reading something like the Red Badge of Courage, we're also, you know, talking about that war that was going on at that time. Like,
wish
you
we
know what
did
mean?
That's
So
cool.
It
yeah.
all very much like made sense to like why we were reading what we were reading, and it was also like, you know,
That's how it should be.
interwoven into the history. A lot of my classes
My
were like
senior
that too.
English class was Barbie. We had a whole like lesson
New
plan
Barbie movie
about
coming out.
I know about Barbie, her origins. Like, thinking back now, it was so intense.
What I think is really interesting is like how long are these classics going to be classics in terms of like when are they going to start integrating
Newer
books
books into this?
It's a solid question.
curriculum? Because like if we're talking about still reading, like I understand Shakespeare or like, you know, some like the Odyssey or something like that, like sure those are very very old, but like when are we gonna like graduate out of Mice and Men?
That's a solid question. And
It's a
like, what
great
are some
question.
books that you've read
Do we
recently?
need to continue to read these?
Do you could you classify any that you've read as an adult that would fall into like that would make a good lesson for like kids, or that you could see becoming that book? I don't know.
I would
don't know.
want.
Yeah,
I would
don't know.
want just because I think I'm just biased on it. I'd want Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo because it's spoken word, so it's a different way
Yeah.
of storytelling, and it's a YA, so
That's
it's,
cool.
I think it's a fun story. Well, fun, yeah, fun, and hearing her coming of age in a way. I think that one's a good one.
I
That I
think
would.
one happy book would be cool because everything. I get like there could be lessons. in a
Tragedy was
happy-
the thing back then.
It
I mean,
is,
like
yeah.
realistically, like The Great Gatsby. Do we really need to be continuously reading The Great Gatsby?
Yeah, what's
I
the
think the
fucking-
whole societal part of that book of like the East Egg and West Egg and like the storyline of capitalism and the way consumerism was at that and showing off who's rich and who's not, like the caste system, and then I think that's what they keep talking about.
Yeah, but like, but when are we gonna upgrade that to like
Something good.
like maybe the 80s,
It's a solid question.
Well, I'm sure there are
You know what
books
I
in the
mean?
80s
Like
that have the
where-
same premise. Yeah,
where it's more like just shift 50 years
I feel
forward,
you. I feel
Yeah.
you.
where it's like a similar like lesson, but we're talking about something more recent history.
I think things need to be updated for
Do
sure.
you think that they have to go through a whole system of like getting these things approved? Because
Yeah,
even looking at these
absolutely.
now,
Oh,
of like
yeah.
how a lot of these books are being banned.
a lot of teachers are buying their own books,
A
especially
lot
like
of teachers have to buy their own books because they don't have the
Yeah.
funding.
a lot of
So-
my friends.
So-
I don't believe in banning books. I don't.
No.
No, neither do I.
But at the same time, I think people are inherently stupid, and I think that teachers are amazing most of the time, but all of us have had terrible teachers. All of us had more than one terrible teacher.
Oh, yeah.
So giving the autonomy to teachers to decide what is okay and not okay to be in a classroom is so wildly inappropriate that like if you're paying for your kids' education in like your town taxpayer, you should be able to vote on what they read. You should be
Yeah,
able to
that's a good
like
point.
have some type of say in what your children are reading
Sure.
and what's okay.
Sure.
I'm not saying that you should be able to like completely like
Yeah.
like
Yeah, I
entirely.
think there's a line on
But
there.
like
it
I don't
shouldn't-
know
it
what
shouldn't
that
be-
solution should be.
It shouldn't
Yeah.
be just one teacher in some
Like, does it get to be
fucking-
board of
No,
ed?
No,
yeah, I don't
high
think it's
school
that. I
that
think it
gets
should
to
be a board of
decide.
ed kind of
Yeah.
It should
conversation.
be a board. It should
Which
be
usually it is.
multiple people.
That's usually
Yeah,
it
but
should
look what's
be.
happening in Florida now. There's that board
Yeah.
trying to get rid
Yeah.
of African American studies, which
That's
is
what I'm
like
saying. It's also
It should be an
dangerous.
in
administration.
college of all places.
Yeah.
Like what the
Homeschool your kids.
Librarians, administrators, parents. It should be a collaboration of all people coming together, being like, "These are books that we think that are appropriate."
I would stand behind a national library association kind of thing.
Mm,
I don't know if
I
that
agree.
exists.
So I think you made a good point about the whole like banning books and stuff, because that's what we're seeing a lot more of. And I'm curious.
It's so messed up.
I should
messed
ask my
up.
niece like what she's reading, because I feel like they're reading less and less too. Like I don't think they're reading books.
A lot of people are not reading
and now
anymore.
everything's digital. It's not like they're picking up a book anymore.
No,
Nobody's
no.
going to the libraries. It's
Nobody
very
gets
sad.
textbooks anymore. One, they don't
Yeah.
have the funding to textbooks either.
Yeah, yep.
Remember back in the day we used to get ratted, like
Yes.
broken textbooks.
Cover it with
We
a
had to cover
bag.
a book sock,
Yeah, a book sock or a brown paper bag.
brown paper bags.
Yep.
Yeah, it's super weird what they're like trying to remove from history too, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like you do know that like these things do happen.
Yeah.
Like you can't just not talk about like
But
It's just
but
so
you
weird.
see this new generation who doesn't know things.
Yeah.
They don't know
Yeah.
what a rotary phone is.
It's
They don't see it.
Yeah.
So if you don't see it, it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy.
And that's what this all leads up to, is that we're getting old as fuck. Things are changing and we either adapt or perish, my friends.
Triple H.
But we could talk about old books and the lessons that we learned. Did you learn anything from the books that you read?
Yeah, I mean
The Green
they all
Light.
had I fuck that book. They all had great lessons and great like takeaways.
You think so?
And I think that they do provide a world view, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a worldly view, and they do. And anytime you're exposed to those types of stories and education and words, you're gaining IQ points.
I think
You know what
every
mean?
book holds a value in some way. Even the fucking weird books that we read on this podcast, even the Creature Cafes. I think every book has
value.
something to offer, whether it's expanding your ways of thinking, whether it's expanding your imagination, whether it is whatever you can possibly imagine. A book will always change something in your mind, and that is why we should all read, and that's the importance.
That's what I want more of. I don't think people read enough these days.
Read more. Read more. Keep
Read more,
libraries in
get
business.
off of your screens.
Go to a library. It's so fun.
Yeah, libraries are fun.
They are. We need to bring back libraries, because I went
Well,
to
they're
the
trying to defund
no,
them.
genuinely, I went to our town's library and I was the only person in there, and I was like, this is kind of sad, because it's a nice place to just sit and like be quiet for a fucking second. It's
My
like,
library is not bad.
we have a fine
An art
library.
one?
Mm-hmm.
We have a fine library, but it's just like I think more people need to go to the fucking library. Like, support your libraries.
I
Yep.
wonder if I could go and just like work there.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can.
I do that sometimes. It's
That's a
awesome.
thing. That's what people used to do back in the day.
It's just nice to be in a different environment.
Kids would just go there and study.
So when I moved to Tennessee, I lived in Tennessee for about 7 months. When I moved there, I was homeless. Something fell through. I was there for an entire week. I didn't have anywhere to live. So
What did you do?
I couch served. Luckily, I had a friend there. Thank God, Courtney, bless your soul, because I would have been screwed. But the first day that I didn't have anywhere to go and I had all my stuff in my car, I went to the library and I spent 14 hours in the library. And I just sat there. I read a whole bunch. I wrote as much as I could.
That was your highest reading era back then.
Oh
was, like,
yeah,
the
for sure.
books.
I read The Institute was when my reading kind of like really got into it. Because that was before this podcast. And I sat.
When did you move
I
back?
sat there. 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2020 April.
Right when COVID started.
April.
Really?
There was nobody on the road. I drove 16. My 16-hour drive was like 14 hours. It was awesome. But like, I literally I sat in that light and nobody threatened to
Bothered
kick
you?
me out.
And
nothing.
then you met Mike shortly after, or
Yeah.
started dating Mike shortly after.
Mm-hmm.
No, they were still dating when they were in Tennessee already, because he would fly over to see her.
We were dating,
Oh,
but we
really?
didn't. He didn't ask me out until. Oh no, he did. He asked me out in 2019. You're right.
You guys were already dating.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, he came for like New Year's and stuff. So.
You were like dating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've been together for 4 years.
That's crazy.
Time flies.
COVID.
But anyway, books. A couple of you have already reached out about like some books that you've read in high school, but are there any that stuck with you? That's my question.
That's not Great Gatsby.
Yeah, that's not Great Gatsby. Like, what's the one that you still think about today, or do you not give a fuck about
I think
those
Heart of
books?
Darkness is one I thought about a lot, and then
Yeah.
I watched the movie, which is Apocalypse Now.
Wow.
It's based on that movie, or based on that book.
See, that's cool. I think it's neat when stuff sticks with you. So hit us up on Instagram. Just look up books_and_betches, BETCHES. Click the link tree. You'll see our Patreon. If you go to our Patreon, you can end up on our podcast for the Patreon book club that we do. We do extra books over there, extra content. We're going to, maybe by now, there's even a video of us baking a cake. If not, that's coming soon. But yeah, that's really it. Follow us on YouTube. Subscribe. We love you. We hope you have a really wonderful week. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.